Everybody, just gonna kind of take it easy here for a few minutes. Give some people a chance to show up. Got my screen over here. Be able to keep an eye on things. See if anybody shows up. We can talk a little bit about Kiss. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna drink a little bit of this beer. It's a Highland Brewing Company. It's a black mocha stout. It's a very, very dark beer. Highland Brewing Company. I really like it. It's really good beer. That's what the label looks like. If any of y'all are ever inclined, if you're beer drinkers and you're ever inclined to go looking for it, but now let me tell you, it is very dark. It's very dark. It is very stout. A few more minutes here. I guess the mic is working. The mic's working. I guess somebody can let me know if they can hear me or not. My mic is usually flashing, and it is not flashing. So I'm not sure if it's actually working or not. Okay, cool. Thanks for letting me know, man. Yeah, it's usually got a little this is the mic I use. Put it up here. And this is the mic I use whenever this light here on the front usually flashes. And it's not flashing right now. And I used to do my reviews in another, if you look in some of my other reviews, I had a piano behind me that had been stripped down to make a desk. And I finally moved into another room in my house where I'm going to set some Kiss albums up behind me. I'm going to have some stuff set up behind me here, but I don't have that set up yet. So it's still kind of white in the background. I do have my Kiss albums in here, some of them, and a monitor here, but in my desk. But I don't have everything else set up yet. So what I was going to talk about in this live chat is I was going to talk about basically what I've been doing since February is reviewing all of the Kiss albums. Started with the first Kiss album and worked my way all the way up through. I actually was working on editing The Elder today. I'll finish that this weekend, and then The Elder will go up on Tuesday. I should be done with it by Tuesday. It'll go up on Tuesday. And so I wanted to kind of do a recap of some things concerning the Kiss albums from the 70s and talk about a couple things from each album and go over what I feel is the song that best represents that album, and then what I feel is my favorite song off that album. So if we start with the first Kiss album, I've got that my favorite song off the first Kiss album was Cold Gin. I've always liked Cold Gin. The first Kiss album is not one of my favorite albums, and it's not really one of my favorite covers, and I've come under a lot of fire for that, because although I do admit it's a classic Kiss album and I appreciate it for what it is, that it is the first album and it is a classic and I do like it. It isn't that I don't like it. It's just it's not one of my favorites. And it's just because it's not really the songs. It's more the performance and the production and the overall sound of it. There's just things about the songs. There's songs that's on that album that I love on Alive, but I don't really like them so much on the first Kiss album. And I don't like the fact that they put Kissing Time on there, I'm not a big fan of that song, and that's not Kiss's decision. That was a Neil Bogart decision, and I don't like that they cut off some of the best part of Acrobat and renamed it Love Theme from Kiss. That just seemed kind of chinky to me for a band as hardcore as Kiss, and flashing balls as Kiss is, to have a love theme. And I think that's more, like I said, I think that was more Neil Bogart, more Bill LaCoin, that type of stuff there. So, but my favorite song off of the first Kiss album is Cold Gin. But the song that I feel best represents that album is probably Deuce. And I kind of went back and forth. But would it be Strutter? I'm not the biggest fan of Strutter, even live. I know that's one of Paul Stanley's favorite songs, and Strutter's it's never really been a big hit with me. But I kind of struggled with either choosing Deuce or 100,000 Years or Black Diamond, and all of those are three great songs. But I just really like Deuce because that is the song that Kiss used to start they used to start their shows off with back during that time. And I honestly think that they should have started the album off with Deuce, but they didn't. They started off with Strutter, but I think Deuce would have been a good song. And so whenever I think of the first Kiss album, my favorite song is Cold Gin, but the song that I feel best represents that album and where they were at that point in time was Deuce. Going on to the second album, Hotter Than Hell. Now, I've reviewed all these albums. If you're a subscriber, or if you've never really watched all my reviews before, I've reviewed all these albums. Up to this point, I've reviewed all the way up to The Elder. I just haven't released The Elder yet. Unmasked has been released. So I've reviewed all these albums. I'm just kind of rehashing some of the things I said in some of the earlier ones. So if you haven't seen these videos, if the previous videos, and you don't want a spoiler, if you're watching this video not live, you can go back and watch the reviews. But the second album, Hotter Than Hell, the song that I like the best off of it is Parasite. I think Parasite's a kick-ass song, and I sound like an Ace fanboy right now because I like Cold Gin off the first. I like Parasite off the second. They're both sang by Gene, both written by Ace. But they're just good, just kick-ass tunes off of those albums. But even though I'm not a big fan of the song Hotter Than Hell, I actually think that the album Hotter Than Hell is summed up best by the song Hotter Than Hell. But there's a lot of good songs on there. Let me see. Let me pull the album here. Let's see. What's Got to Choose I really like. Now, I like Got to Choose better on Alive. Parasite. Going Blind is a really good song. Hotter Than Hell, like I said, it's not my favorite song, but it's the best representation of this album, I believe. Let Me Go Rock and Roll is really good. It's better on Alive. All the Way, not a fan of All the Way. Watching You, I'm a big fan of. Mainline is a good Peter song. It's not the best. Coming Home is a really good song. And Strange Ways is probably my least favorite on the album. And I've come under flack for that because people are like, oh my God, you hate Strange Ways? I don't hate it, but I just don't like the way it just drags. It's like it just drags on this, and it just almost like it's in sludge to me. And some people, I've heard people compare it to sounding like a Black Sabbath song, but I can't get into it. I would have liked to have heard a live version of it, but they never did it live, not that I know of. So the second album, Hotter Than Hell, my favorite song, Parasite. The best representation of that song, probably Hotter Than Hell. The third album, moving on to, is Dressed to Kill. And this is our third album. And probably my favorite song on Dressed to Kill is probably She. I really think She is a really great song. Dressed to Kill is probably my favorite. It is my favorite of the three Kiss albums. It's got really good songs on it, even though it's incredibly short. It's got really good songs. Room Service. Uh, Room Service is good. I'm not a big fan of Two Timer. Ladies in Waiting is okay. Getaway is really good. Rock Bottom is really good. Come On and Love Me is really good. Anything from My Baby, I'm not a big fan of. She is probably my favorite song. Like I said, Love Her All I Can is really good. I even like the Wicked Lester version of Love Her All I Can. And even the She version, the Wicked Lester version of She with the flutes and everything, I think is really cool. And, a lot of bands was doing like Jethro Tull and stuff like that. They were doing the flutes and stuff in heavy metal and rock and roll back then. So I think it was really cool. But I like that Kiss set themselves apart as a rock and roll band. And then Rock and Roll All Night. And although it's a very cliche song, and and I myself am a little bit tired of it. It's the anthem that Kiss wrote. It's one of the big songs that they're known for. You ask people to name a Kiss song, one of the songs they're probably gonna name is Rock and Roll All Night. So Rock and Roll All Night is probably, I feel, the best representation for this album. But I think but my favorite song off this album is She. Okay, so I'm not gonna do the live albums on this list. I'm going to skip on, and we're going to jump on to Destroyer here. So Destroyer, my favorite song on Destroyer is Detroit Rock City. It's probably one of my favorite Kiss songs, and that's no secret. Anybody who watches my videos with any type of frequency knows that Detroit Rock City is probably my favorite song on this very controversial but very well loved, considered by many the best Kiss album that there is, studio album. And the song that I feel best represents this album is Detroit Rock City. You think of Destroyer, most people think of Detroit Rock City. I know I do. But this is just a classic album. Detroit Rock City is good. King of Nighttime World is good. God of Thunder is good. I like the live version a little better. Great Expectations is not. It's not my favorite song. It's not a song I'm a big fan of. Flaming Youth is really good. I think this album could have been called Flaming Youth rather than being called Destroyer. I think Destroyer could have been called Flaming Youth. Sweet Pain is a good song. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of Sweet Pain, but I think it's a great song. Shout It Out Loud is a good song. Beth is I respect Beth, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. I've said all these in my reviews. And Do You Love Me, I think, is a good song. I don't like the tracking at the end of this. Do You Love Me Shout It Out Loud seems like it should be the last song on the album to me. So as far as this album goes, my favorite song on it is Detroit Rock City, and I feel like Detroit Rock City, the song I feel best represents this album is Detroit Rock City on that. So let me cycle through. I've got like 6 versions of Destroyer. So we're going to go on to, we're up to Rock and Roll Over. This is considered the ultimate Kiss album by a lot of people. I like it. I like it a lot. My favorite song off Rock and Roll Over is Making Love. I really like Making Love. I think it's a great song. It's even better on the live too, but I think it's a great version on this. Kiss was like coming off the Destroyer. Kiss was on fire, and Destroyer being as controversial as it was, Kiss wanted to come back with an album to kind of kick the fans in the teeth, because Destroyer sent fans kind of reeling at the time. So this is the album that they came back with, kicking butt on, and they really did. They don't have the track listing right here, but See You in Your Dreams, it's okay. Love 'Em and Leave 'Em's okay. Hard Luck Woman's okay. Making Love is great. Take Me's great. I Want You's great. Calling Dr. Love is okay on this version. Baby Driver's okay. It's not my favorite Peter song, but it is a really good song. Ladies Room, and then Mr. Speed. Mr. Speed is probably Mr. Speed and Making Love are probably my 2 favorite songs on here. But the song that I feel represents this album the best, that I feel, is probably "I Want You." Uh, and I Want You is just a really awesome song. It's good on here. It's even better on a live too. I don't like when Paul gets into that whole back and forth with the crowd, and Paul has a tendency to get over the top with some of his vocalizing when he's live. But I feel like alive, but "I Want You" is what I feel represents this album the best. And my favorite song off this album is "Making Love." So so that is what we have with "Rock and Roll Over." So we're going to move on to, I have several versions of that too. We're going to go on to "Love Gun." "Love Gun" is probably, "Love Gun" to me is um, with "Rock and Roll Over" is like a 1-2 punch. You, especially if you listen to these things back to back, these things could have been recorded at the same time. They're so similar in sound and sonically, and where the band was, they were just at their height of just being awesome and badass during this time. And so my favorite song on this album is "Shock Me." Uh, "Shock Me" is just a classic song. Ace finally sings, and it's just a classic. Um, that's not a lot of people's favorite song off this album. A lot of people's favorite song is "Love Gun." A lot of people's favorite song is "I Stole Your Love," and those are all really great songs. I feel like the song, I went back and forward on what song I felt like represented this album the best, and it's probably a tie between "Love Gun," because it is "Love Gun." So when people hear "Love Gun," they think of "Love Gun." But uh, "I Stole Your Love," the track that starts the album, between "Love Gun" and "I Stole Your Love," those are both awesome, awesome songs. And they're both good, fair representations of this album. Like I said, "Love Gun," I'm not the biggest fan of "Love Gun," actually. Not the song "Love Gun," but I like "Got Love for Sale." "Tomorrow and Tonight" is good. "Christine 16," "Almost Human," "Plaster Caster," "Shot Me." I hate "Then She Kissed Me." That kills it for this whole album for me. Is "Then She Kissed Me" kills it. And "Hooligan," I'm a really big fan of the song "Hooligan." I really like it. It might be, I can't remember if it's my favorite Peter Criss song or not. I like it, and I really like "Dirty Living" off of Dynasty, but I think "Hooligan" might top out my favorite on that. So that is that. So then we're going to talk about the solo albums real quick, and I'm not going to pull them all out, but just going down to the solo albums, I didn't know if I wanted to include the solo albums or not, because they're not officially Kiss albums. Well, they're the Kiss albums, but they're not Kiss as a band albums. But just kind of going over them real quick. On Gene's album, my favorite song on Gene's album is "Burning Up with Fever." Big fan of "Burning Up with Fever." But I feel like the song that probably represents that album the most is probably "Radioactive." That's the song that everybody thinks of. A lot of people think of "Living in Sin" at the Holiday Inn. They like that one too. But to me, I like "Burning Up with Fever" the best, and "Radioactive" really represents that album really good. And it's hard to have one song represent Gene's album because it's all over the place. I mean, you start with "Radioactive" and you end with "When You Wish Upon a Star," and so it's all over the place. Next is Ace's album. Ace's album. Ace has probably hit. It's you know I thought Ace's album was my favorite solo album until I reviewed the albums on my rating scale and everything, and Paul's ended up edging it out. But um, Ace's his the song that I like off his album the best is "Snowblind," and and then probably my favorite, the song I feel like represents that album the most is "New York Groove." I mean, that's the song everybody knows for, especially up north in New York, New Jersey, that area. Everybody knows that album from New York Groove. It was the hit off that. It was the only hit off the solo albums, and so that's what that album's known for. But there's so many good songs on that album: Snowblind, Ozone, Wiped Out, Rip It Out. There's just so many good songs on it. You know, it's his masterpiece, and it's the album that gave him the confidence that he needed. You know, coming off a song like "Shock Me" and coming off of "Rocket Ride," it, you know, gave him that confidence and projected him forward into what he would eventually become. You know, having the best solo career of anybody in the band. So then, if we move on to Peter's album is another one of those albums that's all over the place. But I think my favorite song off of Peter's solo album is "I Can't Stop the Rain." I also like "Easy Thing" a lot, two of the softest songs on the album. But the song that probably best represents that album that people know it for is probably "I'm Gonna Love You." You know, there's Peter's album doesn't have a whole lot of highlights. It has a lot of lows, but it doesn't have a whole lot of highs. But I feel like that the highs that are there are really good. And I've said before in my review, I would have Peter's album just to have "Easy Thing" or "I Can't Stop the Rain." And I'd take those two songs and eight songs of crap just to have those two songs because they are that good to me. And then Paul's album, my favorite song off his album, his album is a masterpiece too. Paul was at his height as far as writing and producing. He produced his own album, basically produced himself. Jeff Glicksman helped produce a couple tracks, but Paul basically started the album in New York and was just doing demos. But the demos were so good. Whenever he got out to LA with Jeff Glicksman, Jeff basically said of the songs that he did in New York that were supposed to be demos, he's like, they're good enough. So Jeff worked on a couple songs with him, I think it's two or three songs maybe, and then he had to go work on another project. And him and Paul weren't getting along anyway because he wanted Paul wanted Jeff more as an engineer type. He didn't want him as a producer because I read in an interview that Jeff said that Paul already had an idea and a clear vision about what he wanted to do with his album. And he basically wanted Jeff there as an engineer, a knob turner, glorified knob turner. But Jeff really did contribute, and even Paul said that Jeff really did contribute on my favorite song on the album, "Take Me Away, Together as One." It's an epic song. It has Jeff, who produced Kansas. He was a big producer for Kansas. You hear some Kansas vibes in that song, and it's my favorite song on that album. I'd take that song over any other song on the album. But I feel like the song that probably represents that album the best is probably "Tonight You Belong to Me," or "It's All Right." I kind of went back and forth between those two, but I feel like "Tonight You Belong to Me," it has all the aspects. It's got the ballady part, it's got the rocker part, it's got the great guitar solo, and it's just a really good song. That's basically with the solo albums. So then, if we go on to the next album, we're going to be looking at Dynasty, and this is the next to the last album that Kiss put out. No, this is the last album of the 70s because Unmasked is actually 1980. So we have Dynasty, and Dynasty was this was the first tour that I ever saw Kiss on, and this album's been called the Disco album. And I've argued with people in the past, and I'll continue to argue that, in my opinion, this is not a disco album. It has a disco song, and it has some disco nods on some of the songs. It was produced by Vinnie Poncia, and that was one of its downfalls, was being produced by Vinnie Poncia. And but to me, Dynasty is a kick-ass album. My favorite song on this album is Ace's cover of the Rolling Stones song 2000 Man. and he just did an awesome job on that. And even though it's the disco song, the song that I feel represents this album, the song that the album is the most known for is probably I Was Made for Loving You. And so that's what I feel like best represents the album. But in my opinion, it is far from being the best song on the album. Charisma is a great song. Dirty Living is a great song. Hard Times is a good song. I Was Made for Loving You is a good song. Magic Touch is an amazing song. Save Your Love's okay. The chorus gets to me a little bit, but it's probably my least favorite of the three Ace songs on here. Sure Knows Something is amazing. I'm not a big fan of X-Ray Eyes. A lot of people, I've had some people ask me, hey, that's a pretty cool rocking song for Gene. And I just don't get into it. I like the solo. I really can't get into it. Of course, 2000 Man, like I said, is awesome. It's my favorite song on this album. So that basically takes us up through the 70s as far as what songs I feel like represents those albums the best and my favorite songs off those albums. So I'm going to take a drink of my beer here really quick. And then I'm going to talk about what I would consider to be the ultimate 70s live album, taking live tracks only from Kiss Alive and from Kiss Alive 2. And if you wasn't here earlier, I saw I got 2 viewers, and I don't know if y'all were here earlier. I know that Orville Dunworth was here earlier. Let me know my mic was working, and I don't know if he's still here or not. But the beer I'm drinking, it's a Gaelic. It's a Highland Brewing Company Black Mocha Stout. It's a very, very dark beer. It's got like coca in it, and it's just a really, really, really dark brown beer. But it's really good. Okay, so if we talk about the 2 live albums from the 70s, we have Kiss Alive. And Kiss Alive. And Kiss Alive 2. Now, Kiss Alive 2 was a shorter album as far as live tracks goes because they did not want to duplicate songs that they put on the first live album. But it's interesting because there's also some songs that they performed live that they left off. They didn't put on a live 2, like Take Me. And both the live albums for Kiss, have come under a lot of fire as not being live at all. But there's a lot of live albums from the 70s that are pseudo live, like Peter Frampton Comes Alive, for example. That's another album that was probably recorded just as much in a studio as it was in an auditorium. So Kiss, even though they called it alive, what they was doing for the listener was they was wanting to give the listener a feeling of being at a live concert. So they sweetened it. To what extent, we may never know. The stories are contradicting at these points. And you have to remember, this is over 40 years ago. There was a lot of drugs done since then, and a lot of brain cells died since then. So who really knows what was live, what wasn't, what was recorded, what wasn't. Now, we do know there's some songs that even though they're marked as live tracks, they're not live tracks, like off of Kiss Alive 2. I think all the songs off of Live was originally performed alive. I've seen live versions of all of these songs, but I know for a fact that off of Kiss Alive 2, Tomorrow and Tonight was never performed live. Hard Luck Woman was not recorded live. They were recorded during sound check. And then Alive 2 has a whole side. The fourth side is all studio tracks. All American Man, Rockin' in the USA, Larger Than Life, Rocket Riding Any Way You Want It. And I like all those songs to an extent. I like some definitely more than others. But they only ended up having Alive 2 was a shortened version of a live concert just for that reason, because they didn't include any, they didn't want to re-record or re-release any live tracks on Alive 2 that was on the first Alive. So here's my album, and this is what I would do. I've actually created a playlist like this, and it actually works pretty well. If you ever want to create a playlist like this, give it a try. Tell me what you think. But I would start my ultimate live 70s album off with Detroit Rock City. So from Alive 2, the opening track of Kiss Alive 2, Detroit Rock City. And then I would follow it just like they do on Alive 2. I would follow it with King of the Nighttime World, because those are bookend songs to me. You really can't have one without having the other, in my opinion. After King of the Nighttime World, I would go into Deuce. So track 3 on my live album after King of the Nighttime World would be Deuce. And then after Deuce, I would put Hotter Than Hell off of Alive 1. And then, of course, if you've got Hotter Than Hell, you got to go into Firehouse. Those are bookend songs to me. Hotter Than Hell ends. If it doesn't go into Firehouse, you feel like, oh crap, what just happened? You know. So so that would basically, Firehouse would finish out the first side of the first album for me. So track 1 or side 1 of the first album would be Detroit Rock City, King of the Nighttime World, Deuce, Hotter Than Hell, and then Firehouse. So then we'd flip the vinyl, side 2 of the first album, come back with, kick in with Making Love, and off of Kiss Alive 2. And then after Making Love, have Shock Me. So Ace finally makes an appearance. And then after Shock Me, Watching You from Gene from Kiss Alive, the first one. And then after Watching You, Come On and Love Me from Kiss Alive 1. And then finish out the second side of the first album with Nothing to Lose. So on the second side, you'd have Making Love, Shock Me, Watching You, Come On and Love Me, and Nothing to Lose. So then we would put on the second album, and first track of the second album would be, first side would be I Stole Your Love from Kiss Alive 2. And then after I Stole Your Love, I'd have I Want You. And then after I Want You, I'd have She from Kiss Alive. And then after She, I'd have God of Thunder from Kiss Alive 2. And then after God of Thunder, I'd have track 5 would be Rock Bottom. So that would finish out the first side of the second album. Like I said, it'd be I Stole Your Love, I Want You, She, God of Thunder, and Rock Bottom. So then the last side is basically my encore side. So they'd come back after the encore. They'd play Cold Gin. That'd be the first track on the last side of the album. Then after Cold Gin, they'd play 100,000 Years. After 100,000 Years, Parasite. After Parasite, Black Diamond. And then after Black Diamond, they'd finish the album, of course, with Rock and Roll All Night. So that is my ultimate, that's 20 tracks. That is my ultimate playlist, and I've done it, and it works actually really good. Like I said, if you have the ability to make a playlist, if you have both these albums in your Spotify or in your Apple Store, Apple Music or whatever, if you have them ripped and you have the ability to make you a playlist, try that. Do Detroit Rock City, King of the Nighttime World, Deuce, Hotter Than Hell, Firehouse, Making Love, Shock Me, Watching You, Come On and Love Me, Nothing to Lose, I Stole Your Love, I Want You, She, God of Thunder, Rock Bottom, Cold Gin, 100,000 Years, Parasite, Black Diamond, and Rock and Roll All Night. So that is my that's my ultimate 70s Kiss rock album. Trying to see if I had anything else here that I was going to talk about. I don't have too much else to talk about. The only other thing that I was going to mention is that, like I said earlier, I am working on, as far as the channel goes, I'm working on finishing up my review, editing my review for The Elder. And me and my son filmed that this past week, and I've been working on editing that, and that'll be going up on Tuesday. Last few days I put up a few things. I put up a In My Head arcade where we played Ultimate Marvel versus Capcom 3. We played that. I put a song exchange up where we exchanged a song from Chris Stapleton and Rabir Masad. I played a song of Chris Stapleton for Steven, and he played a song for me for Rabir Masad from the band Tosca, and put that up. I have the next Kiss review I'm going to be working on is I'm going to be working on Killers. I originally said in one of my other videos that I was going to be doing Creatures of the Night, but Killers came out between. There was a compilation album that came out between The Elder and Creatures of the Night called Kiss Killers, and it was only released overseas. And the record label required Kiss to put 4 new songs on it, and it's kind of like the prequel to. The songs were produced by Michael James Jackson, which ended up producing Creatures of the Night. And they worked with some of the same outside writers that they worked with on Creatures of the Night. They worked with them on Kiss Killers. So Kiss Killers, the 4 songs on there is kind of a prequel to Creatures of the Night. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a review of that, but I'm going to talk about the album a little bit and the history of it and why it came to be. But I'm only really going to review those 4 songs, those 4 new tracks that's on that album. I really don't feel the need to review the rest of the album because it's basically songs that's been released before. Excuse me. There's just a little bit of changes, some edits, some minor mixes and stuff. And honestly, I'm not a fan of any changes they made to the old songs. So I'm just going to review those 4 songs. I'm not going to put it in my list, just like I didn't put Double Platinum in my list of favorite albums, or my list of albums ranked from best to worst. I'm not going to put that in there. And me and Steven's going to be working on some more arcade stuff. I am working on a Typo Negative review for Typo Negative's first album. We're working on that, and it is coming. I've had some Typo Negative fans say, when is this review coming? It's coming. Me and Steven's going to be working on some more song exchange. We're thinking about changing the format to song exchange a little bit, but I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do with it. But that will be coming up. And I also have some. I'm trying to line up some special guests since Steven can't always be with me, and I kind of miss having somebody to talk with songs about. I'm kind of going to be working on some special guests. And one of the special guests is a longtime Kiss fan who he's met Gene before. He has a tattoo of Gene on his arm. He has Gene's signature. Gene signed his arm under his tattoo, and he had his signature tattooed permanently on his arm. He's wanting to come in, trying to get him in for Lick It Up. My daughter Brooklyn, who's not a big Kiss fan, but she's a big fan of Hot in the Shade. She wants to come in and offer some of her insights on Hot in the Shade. And I'm trying to line up a special guest for Creatures of the Night to review that. And there's an announcement I wanted to make on my live feed here, and for anybody who sees it after the fact. I want to do what's called a viewer review. And basically what that is you can post in the comments of this video, and I'll probably make another video after this one that'll be posted probably sometime next week, a non-live video that'll just be posted about this. But if you want to, if you have a video, if you have a webcam and you have a way to like Skype, if you have Skype program and you have the ability to do a Skype video call with me and you want to review a Kiss album with me, one of the upcoming Kiss albums that I don't have somebody committed to do, post something in the comments. Just let me know, or you can send me an email. I'm going to be posting a video next week, at the early next week, that will have my email address in it, where you can email me or you can leave a comment in this, and I will get in touch with you. We'll talk privately, and we'll work out a schedule, because I would really like to do a review of a Kiss album with a fan. The only thing that I require is that you have a video camera, that you have a way to Skype, that you have Skype, you have a reliable internet connection, and that you want to review an album with me that I don't have anybody lined up to review with me yet. As of right now, I don't have anybody lined up to review Asylum. I don't have anybody lined up to review Animalize. I'm talking with somebody about doing some of those albums, but I've not got a hard confirmation yet. So that's something I think it'll be interesting to do if I can get any kind of interest in that from viewers. I'll pick somebody. We'll set a schedule, and then we'll end up doing a video call, and we'll end up talking about we'll talk about each song. You can give your input on the song. I'll give my input on the song, and we'll do it. We'll go from there. So yeah. So if you're interested in that, doing that, put your comment down in the bottom, or whenever I post the video next week, and I have the email address there, you can send me an email and give me your information so we can get coordinated on doing that. I'll pick somebody. If I have one person reply, then I'll have one person reply. I'll do them. If I have multiple people reply, I'll maybe try to schedule it out with different albums, or I may just have to pick one person. I may just have to randomly pick somebody. But let me check my list here. I think that's all that I've got. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have. So we're at about 42 minutes here. I see I've got 3 viewers. I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything they want to say, but let's see. This is Max. Will there be In My Head gaming where you play video games? Yeah. I don't know if Max. I don't know if you've seen the other ones that we've done. I don't know if I'll be doing. Are you talking about doing live, playing video games live, or are you talking about just the In My Head like arcade gaming where we've done some games already? Because we've already done some games. We're working on a series of Shovel Knight. We're working on a series of Shovel Knight. We've done one part in that series already. We played Marvel vs. Capcom this past week, and we put that up already. We played some Atari 2600 games, and so we are going to continue just whatever. I let Steven kind of pick those games because that's kind of his segment that he came up with, the In My Head arcade. So I let him pick the games generally. But if you're talking about us doing it live, I don't know if we'll ever do that live, just due to the way that we have to record it and everything. But I don't know what we're going to do. We may do it live sometime, but it may end up being, we don't want it to be like Twitch, because there's enough Twitch going on and everything. But and it also, if you have some game suggestions that you want us to try to play, if we can get a hold of them, because sometimes it might have to be games that we either have or we can purchase or we can download or whatever. So if you have some suggestions, the games you'd want to see, hear our take on or whatever, you can feel free to comment on those and put those in the comments of the video or whatever. Okay. Yeah, we did record us. We did record us playing games. Like I said, we've recorded us playing some 2600 games. We've recorded us playing Shovel Knight, which we still have to work through. And we just did Marvel versus Capcom, and I don't know where we're going from here. But we're open to suggestions. We're always open to suggestions. Sometimes we can't get around to them, but we're always open to them. So yeah, so we're excited about the In My Head arcade part. We're also going to try to one of the other what we're working on developing even more is the paranormal part of the channel, where we're going out to places. We've been to several places already, and I posted videos about that. There's a couple other places I'm wanting to go, but they're trips. Like there's a lunatic asylum in West Virginia. There is one in there's Eastern State in Pennsylvania. There's one in West Virginia as well. There's one in Kentucky. So coming up on September is when the Brown Mountain Lights, which is near me, the Brown Mountain Lights, which is near me, they get real active in September. So I've never actually seen the Brown Mountain Lights or filmed them, but I did do a segment on it where I used some footage of people that had filmed it. But I'm looking forward to doing that. But yeah, Max, I'm glad that you like the Paranormal in the Arcade series. I like them too. Sometimes I like to have a little break from doing some of the KISS stuff and everything. And so that's something that both of those series we're looking on expanding on. And I appreciate you watching those and supporting those. Here's the thing, whenever we put out a video, we always look at where we're getting our likes from or where we're getting our watches from. And so we're not going to give up on any of the channels just yet. Some of them develop a little slower than others, and takes them a little bit more time to catch on. And so we will release content for them, but we're also going to release the content, try to focus on our primary focus on the stuff that people are watching the most. And so we have a tendency to focus on those things, but all the channels I've got, I want to keep going with. It's just some of them take longer to develop. The paranormal channel takes longer to develop. The gaming channel, it takes a little bit longer to develop those and everything. But yeah, we're going to keep working on those. We enjoy it, so we're going to keep. That's what we're basically doing. I enjoy doing KISS reviews. I enjoy the paranormal stuff. I enjoy playing games, listening to music, and doing different reviews and doing different things like that. So yeah. So we'll go a few more minutes here. If anybody else has any more questions, I'll go a little bit longer. I'm going to drink this beer and work on finishing this beer. And I wanted to try to let this be about an hour long. It's about 10 minutes till 10. So give it a few more minutes here, and we'll wrap this up in about 10 minutes or so, or before if nobody says anything and don't give me anything to talk about. Yeah, my son Steven has actually played Fortnite. I've not actually played it yet. I've been on Twitch and watched a lot of people playing it, and it looks really cool. Looks like something I'd really be into. There's also a game, I can't remember. Max, maybe you'd be able to help with me. Is it called it's called Becoming Human something? Detroit Becoming Human, or let's see. see if I can Google it really quick. Detroit Becoming Human. Yeah. Um, and I watched some people playing that on Twitch, and I didn't watch it too much because you watch too much of that. If it's a game that you haven't played, that type of game, you end up getting spoiled. It's spoiled. It's like watching a movie or listening to somebody talk about a movie that you haven't seen before. You get spoilers that kind of take away from your enjoyment of the game. So that's a game that I would probably end up purchasing and playing. And I'm thinking about me and Steven seeing if he wants to do some Fortnite during one of the In My Head arcade sessions, because I think he has it. I think he owns it. So that'd be something that we're looking forward to doing. So, so those are two games also we can add to the list to go on the arcade channel portion of the channel. So you play Fortnite on your phone? Well, Max says he plays Fortnite on his phone. That's actually very interesting. I've not played it on my phone before. I'm not actually, like I said, I've not actually played it at all yet. So that'd be really interesting. Yeah. In my downtime, I just, it seems like I always have more to do than I have downtime. Like I've got these videos over here. God, I need to, like I said, I need to just unplug one day and watch them because I've got these, and I mean, they're not even open yet. So I don't know if anybody's ever seen. I've talked about these in my pickup videos. If you've ever seen any of those, I talk about all the different KISS stuff that I pick up or whatever stuff I pick up from month to month or every other month or whatever. And I've got this here. I've got Kissology. This is the first volume. And this is 74 through 77. And I haven't watched this yet. Still in the wrapper. I've got, I've seen this before. I think I've seen Kiss Confidential, but I don't think I've seen Extreme Close Up. So I've got Kiss Confidential, Kiss Confidential, and Extreme Close Up. Haven't watched this yet. And I've got the second Kissology. I just picked this up last month. The second Kissology, Volume 2. And this is a box, and it's 78 through 91. And it looks like it's the last of Peter, and then Eric, and then Vinny, Mark St. John, and then Bruce. So those are all of those. Yeah, Max. Max said Paul Stanley's voice is horrible now. Yeah, his voice started dying off. I'm actually I haven't got to it, and it'll be a little bit before I get to it, probably sometime in September. But I'm going to review the last two Kiss albums. I'm going to review Sonic Boom and Monster. And you started hearing Paul's voice straining a little bit in Sonic Boom. Even from the very first song, from Modern Day Delilah, you heard his voice starting to strain. And you hear it really significantly, even more so, in Monster, which came out in 2012. And, and so that's been 6 years ago. So Paul's voice here lately has gotten really bad. I've saw these clips that's going around on the internet from Barcelona and uh, down in Spain and everything. I've saw those on YouTube, and I mean, his voice is horrible. Even if they, now they're talking about doing a 3-year tour, the end of the road tour, which everybody saw coming whenever they secured the end of the road trademark. But I don't know. I mean, even if they were to get all KISS members back, if they were to get Ace back, and if they were to get Peter back, which I don't know if Peter could play for 3 years. And Peter, he's old as dirt. He's older than everybody else in KISS, by a few years. So I don't know. He was struggling during the last reunion tours and during the symphony tour and everything. He was struggling. He was struggling then. So even if you were to get all 4 original members back together, just because of Paul's voice, I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could stand it. And I definitely don't think I'd pay the hundreds of dollars for the ticket to go do it. So I don't know. I'm with KISS right now. I just kind of like to relish in the past and the past glories. And I try not to look too much into what they're doing collectively as a band. I think Ace is still doing some really cool stuff. I've been watching some clips of Gene Simmons' band, and I think Gene still plays great. Gene still has a great voice. Gene's held up really good. Ace has an album supposedly coming out. I know he put Brock's Boy out, and I think he supposedly has an album coming out that song came off of. So I'm looking forward to that. Ace's solo career, his albums have been kind of hit and miss, and some albums have definitely been better than others. And I'll probably eventually review all those albums once I get done with KISS. I might review some of Peter's albums after KISS, starting with Out of Control. I might review Gene's album Asshole. Really think I'd like to review that. And I might review Paul's Live to Win album and his concert Live to Win, because he did some songs off his solo album that have never been done before during the Live to Win tour, and his voice was still. It was before his voice had started going away. So I hear the way Paul used to sound on some of these albums, especially like on his solo album, where his voice was just so powerful. And hear him now, and it's just sad. It's really sad. But I don't hate him. I mean, I know Paul's coming under a lot of hate, and I don't hate him. I mean, have you seen the size of some of them crowds that's coming? I mean, they're still drawing big crowds just because of who they are. But I wouldn't go, and I don't think they're going to draw crowds like that in America. Let's see. Let me read on some of these texts here. Kissology is coming out this fall. Is being edited in 2016. Lawyers taking time. The 40th anniversary. They're trying to get it right. Trying to get rights for a Creatures show. Yeah, I've heard that. I heard that it's been a long time coming. And I want to try to definitely pick up Kissology 3 before. That's one thing we can thank Tommy Thayer for is Kissology and some of the compilation books and stuff that Tommy's worked on. Max also said, I think that the last time Paul had a good voice was when he went out on solo Live to Win tour in 2006. Exactly. I think so too. I've seen that Live to Win live show video, and his voice sounded really good then. And I agree with you on that, Max. The 40th anniversary tour for Kissology 4, when I saw them, will be cut off. Oh, it's not going to be on Kiss. It's not going to be on Kissology 4, that 40th anniversary tour. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Kiss is, there's a lot of things with Kiss. Yep, it's not going to be okay. There's a lot of things with Kiss, like their album certifications and stuff. You know, a lot of their albums are double and triple and quadruple platinum as far as sales goes, but they've never been recertified. So, and a lot of people was like, well, why is that? Well, recertification requires that you pay the people other than yourself more money. And Gene and Paul almost have enough money to the point where they don't need to recertify their albums to pay so that Ace will get more money or so Peter will get more money or some of the producers or the engineers or the co-writers will get more money. So they're not in a big hurry to recertify those albums. I doubt any Kiss album that's been released previously. I doubt it'll ever be recertified. They're going to be at the RIAA status that they're at, and that's just the way it is. That's where they're going to be. Well, went after 10 o'clock. So see, I get to talking, and the next thing you know, boom, 10 minutes, just like that. And I'm not finished my beer yet. So I have about this much in this beer. So while I drink this, we're going to see if we got 3 people watching, and we got Max talking. So if anybody else wants to say anything, even if you just say hi, let me know that you're there watching. I'd appreciate it. Otherwise, I'm going to finish this beer, and then we're going to call it a night, people. Vinnie Vincent shouldn't have deleted his Facebook. Max, you just want to get me into all kinds of talking. Vinnie Vincent. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to step out there and I'm going to say this, and I'll probably catch some flack for it, but I'm going to say it anyway. I've never been the biggest Vinnie Vincent fan, personally, of the man. Although I firmly stand in the camp that Vinnie Vincent and his writing that happened on Creatures of the Night and on Lick It Up and some of his playing. Vinnie didn't play on Creatures of the Night as much as everybody thinks he did. And God, who's ever going to know? I mean, when I get to my Creatures of the Night review, you guys always know I try to put in there who all the guests and outside musicians are. I try to put that in each one of my reviews. But Creatures of the Night is going to be an insanely impossible album to decipher who played on what, because there were so many people that recorded parts for that album. Bruce Kulick, Vinnie Vincent, all these people, they recorded parts for that album that didn't actually get used. So nobody, I think, can say with any certainty who actually did what. But in my video, I'm going to talk about who I believe did what and who sounds like did what. But Vinnie's songwriting and his playing on Creatures of the Night and his songwriting and his playing on Lick It Up, it gave Kiss the injection in their arm that they needed. The fans didn't catch on with Creatures of the Night because even though it's a kick-ass album, people argue back and forth which album's better, Creatures of the Night or Lick It Up. I guess we'll find out which one I like better when we get to those reviews. But if it hadn't been for those 2 albums, I don't think we'd have a Kiss TV worrying about if Paul Stanley's voice is good now or not. Because I think if Kiss had not had those 2 albums, if they had not had Creatures of the Night to pull them out of the mud a little bit and then Lick It Up to take them to the next level, taking off the makeup and taking them to the next level, because people were so freaking tired of Kiss and their gimmicks and their overexposure. So even Kiss taking their makeup off was a gimmick. Because sometimes what Kiss don't have in talent, they make up for in gimmicks and in marketing and in branding. And even to this day, they do that. The makeup now is a gimmick, even though they've got 2 cosplayers in the band. The makeup now is a gimmick. But I could talk about that until 11 o'clock. But Vinnie Vincent, he saved the band, in my opinion, with those 2 albums. And when he came, but I've not been a Vinnie, I wasn't a big fan of Vinnie Vincent Invasion. I've never been a big fan of Vinnie Vincent personally himself. And when he came back around, I was willing to give him a chance. Because I mean, hey, it's Vinny, and he's been a he's been a recluse for 20 years. But then he came back and he just seemed to just fall back into that same old pattern of being Vinny. Then this most recent fiasco where he was going to be doing some kind of con and he ended up reneging on it because he ended up canceling because he didn't have a contract. And some people blamed Vinny, saying, "Oh, Vinny's an asshole because he canceled." But these people didn't have him under contract. And I know a person's word is supposed to be their word, and that is true. But Vinny didn't. They didn't get him under contract. And if you don't have somebody under contract, they can screw you however they want to. And they're lucky that he canceled when he did. If he was going to cancel, he could have waited till the day of and said, I'm not showing up. And I'm not under contract with you, so I don't have to. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't sue me because we don't have a contract. We have a good old boys handshake. And that don't work. It's in the music business. It don't work. So they were both wrong. And who ended up in the end pays for it? Fans. Vinny caught a lot of hell over this, and he deleted his Facebook. To me, I think that was the wrong thing to do because deleting his Facebook, he basically admitted guilt. Rather than just leaving his Facebook up, standing strong, he deleted his Facebook. So now he's probably going to crawl back under a rock somewhere and go away again. And if he does, he does. So I'll always appreciate Vinny for what he did for Kiss, keeping them alive, giving them the shot in the arm that they needed with 2 albums with Creatures of the Night and Lick It Up, and even returning, later on for some songs on Revenge. But personally, I wouldn't go out of my way to meet him. So anyway, Max says, I hate Vinnie Vincent, in my opinion. Even though I hate him, we need to know what he's doing. You get a hate comment on social media, you should leave it up. That's the last thing I have to say. Yeah, I mean, I've put stuff up on my Facebook that either my friends or friends of friends or whatever have, I've come under fire before, but that's my Facebook. It's my opinion. But we all have to be responsible for our actions. And Vinny came out and, he was like, thank you, everybody, for being so accepting to me and welcoming me back. And then the next thing you know, something gets blown all out of proportion. And it's like he looks for an excuse to cancel this thing. He gets his feelings hurt. And the next thing you know, the poop's getting flung from both sides. And, he deletes his Facebook. So, whatever. It doesn't change the fact. It doesn't change my life, So it doesn't change my life. Doesn't improve it. Doesn't make it worse. I wasn't going to the con anyway. But it is unfortunate for both sides. It's unfortunate for the people that was throwing that convention, and it's unfortunate for being, they, like I said, they were both wrong. Nobody, I won't say they were both wrong. Neither was right. I'll put a positive spin on it. Neither was right. So, beer's almost gone. Max says he's done and said the last thing he has to say, and I got 2 people, got 3 viewers right now. I'd at least like to know who y'all are. If the first time you've ever watched the video or first time you've ever seen my channel, if you've seen me before, if you're a fan, if you're just kind of hanging out watching, You can just say, hey, hey, fan, I'm a fan, or I watch, or whatever, or you don't have to say anything. That's cool too. But I'm going to finish this beer up, and then we're going to wrap this video up. Because it's Friday night. It's been a long week, but I hadn't done a live video feed in a while. So I wanted to at least do one. I want to try to do at least one a month, just to hang out for a little bit. And but other than that, I've said all I have to say. Oh, one other thing we are working on. It's just took us some time because, like I said, I'm working on it with Steven. But me and Steven are going to do a commentary of Kiss Meets the Phantom. We're gonna watch. Steven's never seen it, and Steven's never seen the video. He's never seen the movie, and I've seen it several times, many times. And I saw it originally when it came on in '77 when I was 8. He's never seen it, so we're gonna get together on a Sunday afternoon one day, and we're gonna watch it, and we're gonna comment on it. We're gonna watch it from front to back. We'll have it down in the corner somewhere where you can see it, and we'll be talking about it. And during the first, Kiss don't show up for the first 20 minutes. So during that first 20 minutes, we're going to talk about the first. We're going to talk about the solo albums, and we're going to talk about if Kiss had not made the solo albums, and they had put an album out in 1978. We had this idea. We've had this idea for a few months. And I've seen some other channels do it since I said something about it. And we kind of like, well, are we going to do it or not? Or, what are we going to do? Because we don't want to seem like we're copying. And I'm not saying that they're copying because, I mean, I've heard of somebody else doing it, but they did it a little bit differently. They did a best of the solo albums. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to do a best of solo albums. Our original idea that we've seen somebody do since, but we're still going to do, is if Kiss had not made the solo albums and they'd come together and made a 1978 album in between, Alive 2 and Dynasty. Well, actually, it would have been between Double Platinum and Dynasty. What would it be? And 10 songs, and our criteria was 10 songs, and you have to choose at least one song off of each album. So Peter and Gene don't get totally dissed. I'm probably going to try to choose at least 2 songs off each album and try to not necessarily my favorite songs, not necessarily the best songs, just 10 songs off of those 4 albums that I think would make the best 1978 album had they worked with somebody like, God knows, Vinnie Poncia, but if they'd worked with somebody like Gene worked with Sean Delaney, and I really didn't like that. Ace worked with Eddie Kramer, and Paul basically did him himself. So if they would have worked with Eddie Kramer and maybe Paul Stanley would have helped produce a little bit, what would that album have sounded like? And what would those songs be? What would the track listing be? Steven's going to have his, I'm going to have mine, and we're going to talk about that during the first 20 minutes or so of the movie, waiting on Kiss to show up, because it's just getting the plot set up. It's kind of pretty boring until Kiss shows up. So other than that, that's the only other thing I can think of that we're working on. When we're going to get the chance to do that, I don't know, because when me and Steven get together, we have so many things we could work on. We could do a review. We could do an arcade. We could do a song exchange. There's so much we could do whenever we get together. And he only has about 2 hours at the most, about 2 hours a week to be able to work with me. So we have to be very picky about what we do and what we don't do. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this. Figured, it's 15 after 10. I'm done with wait a minute. Now I'm done with my beer. Done with my beer. And so I appreciate the 3 of you or 4 of you that's been here pretty much the whole time. I appreciate it. And y'all know me, I'm Brent. This is In My Head channel. And I appreciate you guys watching, commenting, subscribing, liking. And I appreciate you staying up and showing up with me on tonight for the live video. And I will catch you next time, okay? Appreciate it. Thank you.